Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, as regular viewers know, I treat all politicians with utter contempt. There are a few angels, and we do praise them, but 99% of these people who sit at public expense and make appalling decisions based on their own personal outlook, which damages us all, often is against the public will, and then they try and justify it with lies. And that is why I dislike them all. I treat them all with contempt. I think they're all contemptuous beings. And none more so than those who make promises and then outright break them and lie about them. Those, I think, is a special place in hell. Dante talked about them in his Inferno, and he had a place in hell for the liars. And I think nothing gives a better example of this than the Tory party and its manifesto pledge to cap the costs of later life care. Now, this was a proposal first put in place by Theresa May. Remember her? Now, this is 3 prime ministers ago. This is 3 elections ago. And that was a policy manifesto promise then. It was a manifesto promise in the following election. It was a manifesto promise in the last election. And now the utter contemptible dog that is Hunt. You have to be very careful to pronounce the H because I think the C is silent. He is proposing now that this promise, this 3 times promised policy, is going to be delayed until after the next election because he simply hasn't got the money. He can find the money for a lot of other things, but actually looking after the people, actually putting money in where it's needed. Oh, no, this is the Tory party. They don't do that. So we'll have a look at this piece, and it just goes to show really the contempt at which the Tories, I sometimes think, are seen a contemptible image, sometimes just based on dislike for them. But it's things like this is where you're stoking the fires for that dislike when they make promises and promises and promises and then renege time and time again. So here we go, and we'll see this. And it's just a terrible thing for anyone who's approaching that point. And they've worked their whole life, they've shepherded their money carefully, they want to enjoy their retirement. Then all of a sudden, boom, everything they own has gone, simply because of this party and its inability to make its promises. Here goes. So the Conservatives' pledge to cap the cost of social care is delayed again, as Rishi Sunak fails to commit to the long-promised reform in 2025. Now, this was originally pledged in, I think, 2017 under Theresa May, that election. And then obviously she had all the bother with Brexit. She couldn't get half of the stuff through that she wanted. It was delayed. Then, of course, she was ousted because she was useless. Then the bumbling buffoon that is Boris Johnson comes in, immediately falls into the COVID lockdown, and so it's again, nothing ever gets done. The whole government was bound up for a year. Apart from obviously the Conservative Party were out there and quaffing their drinks at their parties at number 10. And how Rishi got away with it and it wasn't ousted like the rest of them, we will never know. So he's gone, Boris is gone, and so they bring in the 5-minute wonder. She wasn't in there long enough to do anything, but it was still part of the pledge. And she was questioned on it, funnily enough, but she just didn't answer it. And now we have Rishi, a man who never turns up to PMQs. He's done so few since being leader. He's always finding a reason to not be held accountable. He always puts a deputy up. He has got, in fact, the worst record in terms of percentages of PMQs of not turning up. He's absolutely scared to be held accountable because they know that there'll be questions there he'd have to answer, and they were kind of questions that he really, really doesn't want to answer. He's a bit of a coward on that front. So, of course, he's over in the States now. Ostensibly, he's going, we're going to build a special relationship. We have this and all that. Blah, blah, blah. What a load of rubbish. He's just there to make sure his green card is up to date because he wants to become an American citizen. And as soon as he's out of office, bang, he's in the States. He takes his billionaire foreign-aided wife away. She's a non-dom resident. She's a billionaire, but because he has maintained her non-dom status, she doesn't pay a single penny in tax in this country. I think that before she goes, she needs to give over a big whack of that money in tax. But he won't commit to that either, because again, it's me, me, me. It's the same with all of them. All politicians are like this. So the sooner he buggers off, the better. But of course, he's got his green card to maintain, so that's why he's over there meeting and greeting to make sure he spends enough time in the States so that green card's up to date. And of course, he's talking to the American press. He won't talk to the British press because he's absolutely petrified. Because if he says these things to them, they'll hold him to account and roast him over the coals. But if he says it here and releases here and he's abroad, then by the time he comes back, the news cycle turns on and nobody bothered about it. He's got the bad news out and they've moved on. And that's what they do. They find days to release this bad news. But this was a 3 times manifesto commitment. It's been delayed 3 times. And this time, this reform that was supposed to come in 2025, it looks like it isn't coming at all. They are liars, every single one of them, because they know they cannot deliver it because it will cripple them. So going into it, finally, Rishi Sunak has failed to commit to a previous pledge to deliver the social care changes in 2025. The Prime Minister said the government was postponing, that's political speak for abandoning, the long-promised reform, but he did not say for how long. Forever is how long. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt said last year that the flagship cap on the cost of social care would be delayed for 2 years. Yeah, he said it was originally going to be in 2025, but it was originally 2023, he was saying. And then he was delaying it till the beginning of 2025. But of course, that's gone out the window now because they know they're in deep trouble. He said it meant the cap was unlikely to be introduced before October 2025, after the next general election. And speaking to reporters on his visit to Washington, D.C., Mr Sunak was asked when he would deliver the Tory Manifesto pledge on the long-term social care. And there's Hunt, yes. Gotta be careful, that don't want to get that pronunciation wrong, do we? But he failed to give a time frame. And when asked, he said, what we've done is invest billions of pounds into social care right now. Given the situation we face, it's right that money was going in to actually just build resilience, expand capacity in the sector, 14 billion at the autumn statement last year in both the NHS and social care that was warmly welcomed by the sector. What he's doing there is he's conflating social care and the NHS into one number so they can give this really big, impressive number, 14 billion. He's still not saying how much of that is for, late life care. Because they don't want to tell you, because it's a secret, because it's embarrassingly small. And of course, the problem they have, and I've mentioned this in a video I did yesterday, which is the, how can we put this? It's the population time bomb, I called it. But it is a demographic problem. And that is you're getting increasing numbers of elderly and retired people with a smaller workforce. Now, currently, if you get to the end of your life and you need long-term care, you're forced to sell your house. If you own your house, you're forced to sell your house. And they use the money from that sale to care for you until all that money's used up. And then the government steps in at the end, but only after you've spent your entire life. Where you can be very careful. You could have shepherded your money and your assets very carefully, so that you have something to leave to those who you leave behind. And what they're saying is now, no, the government is basically going to take everything you've worked for and put it effectively into the tax system, because it's going to be used to pay for your care, which would otherwise come out of the tax system. So it's effectively a 100% tax on everything you own to pay for your care. And what the proposal was is that there'd be a tax, an upper limit to how much you pay for care. And they said initially it was £86,000 if memory serves, though it's index linked, so it will be going up very slowly. But the point there, though, is that if, let's say, you've got a £300,000 house and you sell it and you've got to use the first £86,000 to pay for care, that's all you're ever going to pay. The remaining £214,000 would then be left for, obviously, for you, the remainder of your life, you're getting the interest on it or any income from it, and you can, you've got that. But then at that point, once you've gone, that $214,000 goes to whoever you choose to leave it to, and then it's passed down through the generations. The problem they have, as I say, is this increasing number of older people will put a massive cost on to the tax, onto the taxpayer. But that's fine. The taxpayer is paying a lot of money. But the trouble is the taxpayer's paying about 100 billion a year to foreign aid. Well, how about we take some of the foreign aid budget and use it for the end of life care for the people who've actually worked their whole life and put money into the system to pay for this sort of thing. People aren't working to give money for foreign aid. People are working so that they get their care, their needs met, their NHS, their social care. That's what it should be. That should be the priority. But the Tories won't do that because they don't want people actually getting ahead. They don't want people who are not reliant upon the system. And Labour are the same. I mean, they are the same. They want people reliant on the system because it gives them control. It's all about control. Independence is anathema to politicians. But to lie there, these lying Tory bastards are sitting up there and they are telling you election after election after election that we're promising to do this, that we're going to do this, we're going to have this social care is our priority. And they're just outright lying to your face. They will not do it. They will not commit to it. And what is the absolute point? And I'm going to stop because I'm getting angry about it, and I don't want to be doing that. So I'll stop now. I'll come up and we'll round off the video. So there you go. Another Tory pledge made and broken, but made and broken 3 times. You cannot believe these people. Everything they say is just outright lying. They're incapable of doing anything good. They're incapable of doing anything that makes life better for people of this country. They're putting... I mean, this isn't a aside. This is not what the video is, but they keep putting the interest rates up. They keep saying, oh, the interest rates need to go up because inflation is high. Inflation is high because of factors outside of this country. Putting the interest rates up in this country does nothing for the inflation that's going on around the world. You think food is expensive now? Just wait another 3 months. Because that massive dam, whether it was an explosion or a crash or whatever happened in Ukraine, wiped out masses of agricultural land. Ukraine is one of the world's largest growers of grain. You just wait. The grain prices will go through the roof. Your bread will be £2 a loaf. Easily. Anything that has wheat in it will go through the roof. Cereals, double in price. Now that's nothing. You can put your interest rates up as high as you like in this country. People have still got to eat, regardless. And when food inflation is going to be that high and driving the inflation rate up, doesn't matter how high you put the interest rates. You know what you do? Put them so high that people actually starve. They do everything they can to damage people. They don't basically want the people of this country to do well at all. But get back to this end of life lies they keep telling. It's utterly disgusting. Make a pledge and stick to it. And if you're not capable of sticking to it, have an election. Let's get in someone who can make that promise and who will deliver on it, and hold them to account. And let's not let Rishi Sunak keep swanning off and making policy statements when he's abroad in the hope that he doesn't get questions on it when he comes back. He's a coward. He's a tiny little coward. And I'm done. And I'm finished. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got to the end of this, well done you. I do go on a rant sometimes. Anyway, do stay safe, stay well, and until next time, remember this. They're all bastards. Every single one of them. And goodbye.